elections, and we've invited Kit Spence, our elections commissioner, out today to discuss the process. And yeah, so I'll pass it over to bring my way here.
Thanks, Doug. So thanks for everybody for coming out. I've got a presentation that talks about the process of elections.
May I ask what your name is?
Kit.
Pardon?
Kit.
Kick.
K-I-T.
Kick. Not a kick. Okay.
So as I go along, don't hesitate. If I'm not clear about something, if you got a question, just let me know and we can.
So what do you do?
Well, just listen, sit and listen and you'll
Yeah,
find
okay, yeah, a good picture here.
So, the treaty that you signed 5 years ago conveyed upon you self-government. And so then part of that is that you have elections every 4 years. And all of the processes that you have here are governed by your constitution, the laws like the Election Act, and regulations. So the Constitution establishes that there's going to be a government with a chief counselor and 5 counselors. And then pursuant to the Constitution, you have laws that establish how your elections are going to work. And under those laws, there's specific regulations for that. And it sets that the voting age is 18. You have to be 18 or older on the time of the day of the election. So you have an election commissioner who's appointed according to the Elections Act. That's me. And what you want is an independent, unbiased expert. So I'm independent. I don't know anybody in the Huu-ay-aht. I have no connection to anybody here. I'm loyal to no group or organization here. So I'm unbiased. And I have significant expertise. I've done First Nations elections for Sunamo, Chuckasit, Mission Valley Health Authority. I'm currently doing the one at Glulit. We'll check this out again later on this year, the second election of the treaty. And I worked overseas with election organizations in places like Afghanistan and Pakistan and Djibouti and Ukraine. So I have lots of experience in running elections and working with elections. I don't make the rules. I implement your rules. So I don't have any leeway in the rules. And I'm loyal only to the law and to the election of principles, not to any person or office. I ensure that everyone who has the right to vote can vote and is not prevented from voting by some external means. And I ensure that nobody votes who is not supposed to vote. Those are the fundamental principles of elections. That everybody gets a chance to vote and nobody who shouldn't vote interferes in the process. So we want to conduct an open and transparent election so that in the end, you're confident that the end result reflects what the people want. So who can vote? Any Huu-ay-aht citizen who's 18 or older on election day, that's on June 20th. The voters list has been prepared and is open to inspection. So anybody who wants to can come and look at the voters list. You have to sign a form that says you're going to maintain the confidentiality of the list because people's addresses are on that form, and you know some of that stuff is subject to privacy. The deadline for corrections to the list is May 18th, so if you want to have a look at the list, if your address or name is not correct on the list, you should fill out the form and make the corrections. And if you see somebody else whose name is not correct, then you should go and tell them and make sure that they come in and fill out the form and get the corrections. Once the candidates have been nominated, the list will be provided to the candidates so that they can get in touch with you and campaign, because that's a legitimate practice on the part of candidates, is to be able to talk to the people who they're trying to get to vote for them. So we will give the candidates the voters list. But if you don't want them to have your contact information, you can tell us, and we'll give them a list with just your name on it without your contact information. What you do and how you communicate with the candidates is up to you. You can do whatever you like. But we will facilitate the candidates' ability to contact you by letting them know who you are. So they don't start bothering people who are not likely to vote for them. Candidates, So any voter, anybody who's a voter can be a candidate. So all it means is that you have to be 18 years old on the date of the election to be a candidate. And you can run for both chief councillor and for councillor at the same time. If you get elected as chief councillor, then obviously you can't be councillor and chief councillor at the same time. So if you get elected chief councillor and you're running for councillor, then you just drop off the list and whoever else is on the list gets elected. So the nomination period runs from today until the 14th of May at noon. Yes, sir.
May I ask this question here? They had this situation there that they made all these books and they made all this stuff where that they were supposed to go buy on it, but they're not going to buy it now. So this is why you're here to do this?
I'm here because this act, which is the Election Act, says that you must appoint an outside person to be the act.
Sorry. But please ask for that knowledge thing that the tribe went through when they come training to that book. What they wrote was the Bible, and they threw it out. Please. Thank you.
I'll do that. So, the nomination period runs from May 4th to the 14th at noon. So if you want to be nominated, you need to get your nomination papers in to this office, to the port office, or to me via email. You can scan and email the stuff to me. And it has to come in by noon on the 14th. So notice has been posted about this along with the nomination package. And you need to have the signatures of eligible voters. You need to have a color photograph. You need to fill out the proper forms. There's a signed solemn declaration. And you have to have a criminal record check that was done in the last 90 days as of election day. So if you haven't already applied for your criminal record check, I would say that you better get in there tomorrow. Because I called the police a couple of days ago, and they said that it's a 14-day turnaround time. Well, we're the 4th of May, and if it's a 14-day turnaround time, that means May 18th. So, if you do all of the other things that are required and have applied for a criminal record check, then you'll have to deal with that situation as it comes up. The other alternative, I think, is to go to Victoria and see the commissionaires because they're advertising the 48-hour. But that involves a trip to Victoria and probably a greater fee. Right now it's about $30 if you go to the RCMP. Now, if you go to the RCMP in the port, you can explain to them that there's a requirement to get it done by May 14th, and they may be able to produce it before then. But I would say that you want to do that tomorrow. And I have copies of forms that you can fill out.
My name is Clara.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, you have for the nominations from today to the 14th, and it says signatures of 10 eligible voters. Now,
So you can check on the voters list
yeah,
and make sure that the people who are signing are eligible.
okay.
And if
And the question would be like the people that are asked or want to be nominated,
Yes.
they go around and ask for signatures, is
Yes.
that correct? Now, if 10 different people are wanting to be nominated, am I allowed to decide each and every one of them, or do I
Yes.
just pick one?
there's no restriction in the act on the number of people that you can nominate. So you can sign everybody's nomination form, and you can sign multiple nomination forms, and the same people can sign multiple nomination forms. So there's no restriction on who can sign the nomination forms and who you can get, as long as they're eligible. Color photo, that's pretty straightforward. And then the signed solemn declaration. So a solemn declaration is a declaration that's a sworn statement made in front of some kind of an official like the election commissioner, the judge, the speaker, law clerk, the executive director, the tribunal chair. I guess I put the election commissioner on the request. Lawyers or notaries. And it's a offense to make a false statement. So you need to look at what it says on the form, because it says that you're swearing to the fact, or you're attesting to the fact that you don't meet certain things, you know, that you're not bankrupt, that you don't owe the Huu-ay-aht money, and various other things that are on there. If you lie, that's an offense. So, and when you sign that form in front of that person, you're making a solemn declaration. That's why you need to sign it in front of that person, and they sign it and ratify that they saw you sign it. So the restrictions on candidates are set out in Part 3 of the Elections Act. So if you're an undischarged bankrupt, if you're in debt to the Huu-ay-aht to a prescribed amount, if you're in default of a contract with the Huu-ay-aht, if you've been convicted of certain criminal offenses, or you've been convicted of other kinds of offenses where 5 years haven't passed since that offense, if you're disqualified in other ways by the Election Act or other Huu-ay-aht acts, if you're a member of the tribunal, if you're the speaker, if you're in a prescribed position or contract, and if you're an employee, you can't run unless you do certain things. So those are the restrictions on who can run. Now, if you're an employee, you have to comply with the Act. So the Act says that you have to give notice in writing that you intend to seek the nomination before you go and get nominated. So make sure that if you're an employee and you're thinking about running, put it down on paper and give it to your boss, and tell them that you're going to try and get nominated. And then you get leave for the period of the nomination, if you get nominated, and for the period of the election if you're successful in being nominated. And then if you get elected, you have to resign your position. You can't be an employee and an elected politician, elected councillor, chief councillor at the same time. Now, people can challenge nominations, but this is something that shouldn't be done lightly, because you have to set out grounds for the challenge. So you have to say, well, wait a minute, that guy was convicted of a criminal offense, or that woman owes us money, or that person was bankrupt. And you can't just say, oh, I don't think that person should run. There has to be, you have to make a case that why that person shouldn't run. There needs to be grounds for the challenge. And you have to provide evidence to support your challenge. You can't just make vague allegations. You have to say, that person is here